Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have certainly had their share of issues, but personally, I can look past a lot of the complaints surrounding these games due to the insane amount of content that they introduced. One of my favorite features is the unique approach to collecting badges in the Paldea region. Not only does it bring back the classic 8 Gym Leader Gauntlet, but it also adds 2 new categories of boss battles to the franchise. The first being the Team Star based takeovers, which make up another 5 badges required for the main story. But the other category of battles is where the focus for today's video will be. The remaining of the total 18 badges available are obtained after defeating these monstrosities right here, also known as Titan Pokemon. In different corners of the map, these giant Pokemon are waiting to be encountered as part of Arven's Path of Legends quest. And one of the best storylines in recent Pokemon, your job is to challenge the Titan Pokemon in search of the elusive Herba Mystica to help heal Arven's partner Mabosstiff. After playing through these games to completion for the first time, I realized how great a lot of the shiny sprites for these Titans are, with all of them belonging to the Generation 9 entries of the National Pokedex. So I set out on yet another challenge across multiple save files to catch every shiny Titan Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet at the base shiny odds. Enjoy! The save files that I'll be hunting on for these finds are already complete, so I'm able to go in any order I choose for my targets. There are 8 shiny Titans for us to find in total, and all 8 will be found without using the known shiny hunting methods in Gen 9, which includes having the shiny charm, using sparkle power sandwich effects, and knocking out 30 or more Pokemon in mass outbreaks. Our first shiny hunt takes us down into the Great Crater of Paldea and into Area 0. Of all the Titan Pokemon available to encounter, 2 are exclusive to this post-game location. Donphan from the Johto region actually got 2 different Paradox forms in Scarlet and Violet, one for the past forms in Scarlet, and one for the future forms in Violet. We are starting this quest in a save file of Pokemon Scarlet, meaning the past Paradox Pokemon and Quaking Earth Titan, Great Tusk, is our first target. Now, as cool and mysterious as the Paradox species are, the shiny hunts for them are nothing very difficult, especially when it comes to Pokemon that can be found in the deepest parts of Area 0. By using a sandwich with the Fighting Encounter Power 3 effect, spawns of Great Tusk can be isolated and will start to appear all over the place. This hunt is pretty low effort too. It's a large Pokemon with a very noticeable shiny sprite, and after 8 of these Encounter Power 3 and Title Power 3 sandwiches, I was greeted with my first shiny of the quest on February 28th, 2023. Shiny Great Tusk is the first of the Titans obtained, and it was pretty cool to get a shiny Titan and a shiny Paradox Pokemon checked off my list at the same time. But we can leave all that Paradox talk for another video. I'm a big fan of trying to match Pokeballs to my shinies, and a Nest Ball was a good choice in that regard. Great Tusk here had a relaxed nature, but even with Tidal Power 3 active, it did not have a mark. This fighting ground type beast is only the first of many shiny Pokemon we need to obtain though, and our next location, the Asado Desert, is actually the home away from home for Great Tusk in the main story, and it's also where we can start the hunt for our second shiny Titan. When it comes to deciding how much I actually like the shiny sprite of a Pokemon, a big factor for me would be how unique the changed color palette actually is. And our next target is a shiny that I think captures what I mean pretty well. Along with a bunch of other cool species of Pokemon, the lurking Steel Titan Orthworm can be found in the wild here in the desert. This is another super chill shiny hunt, and by using Encounter Power 3 for the Steel type, you can isolate the Orthworm spawns just as we did for the shiny hunt for Great Tusk. One of the only downsides to this hunt though is the sandstorms that frequently appear while roaming the Asado Desert, as it definitely can impact the performance of your game. But these storms actually turned out to be a big blessing in disguise, as we'll see in just a minute. And after 4 of these Encounter Power 3 and Title Power 3 sandwiches, our second shiny of the Titan challenge is here. Going back to what I was saying before, shiny Orthworm has a very unique shade of blue, which I think makes for a great shiny sprite. To match these unique colors as best as I could, I went with a heavy ball for the capture, and I'm happy with how the combination turned out, especially when you look at the Pokeball animation for it. Also, remember when I mentioned the sandstorm being beneficial? Well, it turns out this bashful natured Orthworm possesses a mark, and that's the sandstorm mark. This mark usually has a 1 in 50 chance of appearing on a Pokemon caught during an active sandstorm, but the Title 3 effect I had provides 3 extra rolls for a mark, raising the odds to 4 out of 50. So with our shiny Orthworm the Sandswept captured, we are now a quarter of our way through the quest. So let's waste no time and move right on to our third Titan encounter. Now, I don't think we can have a proper Kaiyato shiny video until we find a phase or two along our way. In the very early parts of the game, in the South Province Area 1, we can both battle and shiny hunt for our next Titan. By using the rock type sandwich boost, we can see Klawf encounters throughout most of this cliffside area. Klawf has to be one of the best shinies that we'll hunt on this quest, and is a must-have from Generation 9. However, this hunt breaks the pattern of being able to isolate encounters for our target, and another rock type from Paldea calls this area home. Shiny Nacli appears after 5 sandwich sessions and is phase 1 in our hunt for shiny Klawf. This shiny actually got a lot of time in the spotlight in my most recent shiny video, so I won't dive into this as much as the other finds. I caught it in a plain old Pokeball and it has a quiet nature. If you watched part 2 of the Violet shiny badge quest, you would know the other shiny Nacli that I mentioned before is already evolved in a shiny Garganacl, so this little guy will stay as the first stage for the time being. It is cool though that one more of these at the full odds mean I'll have the entire Nacli line complete in Generation 9, but this also means that shiny Klawf isn't getting his time to shine just yet. I had a sneaking suspicion that if I tried for a shiny Klawf again right off the bat here, I would be met with another phase, so I decided to change targets for my next hunt. Literally right outside the town of Alfrenada, there is a location where you can do a lot of cool shiny hunts, but the hunt we'll be focusing on is for the open sky titan Bombirdier. This has a dual typing of dark and flying, but I would suggest using the flying type for your encounter power sandwiches, as lots of other dark type Pokemon reside in this area outside of Alfrenada, especially once nighttime hits. Also, if you pay attention to the summary screens of these finds, you can see that I completed all of these hunts way before the release of the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLCs. If you have access to these areas though, Bombirdier can be encountered in the Kitakami region as well. You know what needs to go down at this point, and the sandwich chefery begun. It only took 4 sandwiches for the flying type for shiny Bombirdier to arrive. This hunt was a little nerve-wracking at first though. With the Pokemon flying off screen, and with only certain parts of the shiny sprite changing color, I was worried about potentially missing the shiny Stork. Luckily that didn't happen, and I was able to snag it in one of my favorite Pokeballs in the franchise, the Premier Ball. Shiny Bombirdier here has a docile nature, with a mark attached as well. It has the uncommon mark, and I don't know about you guys, but it feels like the uncommon mark is the one I happen to find the most in these games. Regardless, another marked full-out shiny Titan has been captured, adding Bombirdier the Sociable to our expanding roster. The Titan team is at about the halfway mark now, so let's see how our luck has been thus far. We've thrown together 21 sandwiches for Encounter Power 3, and those 21 sandwich sessions brought in 4 full-out shinies, 3 of which are the Titans we need, and 2 of the said Titans possessed marks. With these numbers, I'd say our luck has been about average overall for these finds, so keeping up this pacing sounds a-okay to me. But the hunt for the next shiny Titan is probably the most frustrating hunt in this entire video. Why is that, you ask? Well, it's because this next hunt takes place at one of the worst performing areas in the game. This hasn't been intentional by any means, but my recent shiny videos in Scarlet and Violet have been constantly mentioning a specific notable location in Paldea, the Castle Royal Lake. Now in terms of what it's supposed to be, this area could easily be one of my favorites in the whole game. I think the scenery is fantastic, the spawns are very interesting and diverse in terms of Pokemon species, and it's the home for the Titan of my favorite Pokemon type, the Dragon Titan. This part of the video is going to be interesting for a couple of reasons. First, there are actually 2 different Pokemon you battle during this part of the story, Dondozo and Tatsugiri. This plays into the name the False Dragon Titan, and you'll need to beat both in order to obtain the badge. You might be wondering, which of these so-called Titans are we going to shiny hunt then? And if you know me by now, that's an easy answer. Both of them. I've already posted an entire video dedicated to finding the 3 different forms of shiny Tatsugiri, so consider checking that out if you haven't seen it. The actual form in the Titan battle is the curly form, so here's a quick showcase for my shiny Tatsugiri that appeared after only 2 Dragon Encounter sandwiches. Finding a specific shiny form of Tatsugiri at the base odds certainly isn't easy, especially given that this was before the update to fix outbreaks to spawn variant forms. But the real challenge for this Titan was about to begin. Dondozo can only be found in the Castle Royal Lake in these games, and with its type being pure water, isolating these encounters are straight up not happening with the hordes of other water types available here. There is a solution to this predicament though, and it's through the use of the mass outbreak feature. In these outbreaks, you can see up to 15 of the Pokemon on your screen, and takes priority over other spawns in the area. That means all we needed to do was some resets until an outbreak of Dondozo appeared. Hold up, Kaiyato, I thought you said you don't use methods for these big video projects. And that's true. And if you didn't know, your shiny odds and mass outbreaks won't increase until you knock out 30 or more Pokemon. This is excluding the special events though. This makes outbreaks a great tool to isolate encounters that would otherwise be impossible. Normally, I throw on sandwiches even for outbreak hunts, because Tidal, Humongo, or Teensy powers are all still very viable. But for some reason, I didn't use any for this hunt. I was probably just too lazy to buy more ingredients, but it took about 3 hours of hunting in the outbreak, which is roughly equal to 6 total sandwiches for the shiny Titan to appear, and it's definitely a hard one to miss. The fall shiny Titan Dondozo joins the fray, but these massive models, plus the already laggy experience in most water locations, made the game's performance during this hunt atrocious. I thought an Ultra Ball was a nice fit for the palette here though, and our new goober here has a hardy nature with no mark. 3 hours in and an absolute frame rate nightmare while trying to navigate these giant dozos was not ideal, but we made it through with another shiny Titan checked off the list. There's only 2 Titans remaining for us to track down, but only one of them can be found here in Pokemon Scarlet, and it's a shiny that we already attempted to hunt. I already mentioned this before, but Klawf has to be one of the best shiny forms introduced in Generation 9, and even if I didn't plan on completing this quest, I'm positive that I would have found myself hunting this at some point. I made my way back over to South Province Area 1, in search of the Stony Cliff Titan once more, really just hoping to not see another shiny Mushroom Rock, and after 7 more encounter and title sandwiches for the Rock type, something did decide to shine. No more phases this time, and shiny Klawf joins the Full Odds Titan roster. This was a breathtaking shiny to see in these games, especially during the nighttime hours. With the sky blue color palette on this sprite, I could really only think of one Pokeball for the capture, a dive ball, and was able to capture it with no trouble. Klawf here has a lax nature, and insanely enough, also has a mark attached to it. It has the Sleepy Time mark, which has a 4 in 50 chance of appearing with Title Power 3, and gives our latest shiny the title of Klawf the Sleepy. With shiny Klawf officially obtained, we now have found every shiny Titan available in Pokemon Scarlet. But ending the video here wouldn't truly be every shiny Titan, so we'll need to migrate over to Pokemon Violet in search of our final target. This quest is going full circle now, and the hunt for our final shiny Titan will be in the same exact place as our first shiny Titan. It wasn't as simple as loading my game up and starting the hunt though, because the only Violet file up and running back during these hunts was the shiny badge quest file. This file isn't at the post-game location you need to be at in order to shiny hunt Paradox Pokemon. If you haven't kept track of the list and figured it out yet, our last shiny Titan to find is the future Paradox form of Donphan, Iron Shreds. When we showcased shiny Great Tusk earlier, I talked about how the boss will vary for your game, and the Quaking Earth Titan in Violet is this Pokemon right here. This also means that in the depths of Area 0, where we hunted our first Paradox Donphan, will now spawn the future forms of Pokemon instead of the past. And after finishing the epic post game on a second save file, I was able to roam Area 0 while riding Miraidon and begin hunting. You can isolate the encounters for the future form just like we did with the past form, by using Encounter Power and Title Power 3 for the Steel type. Hunts in Area 0 are always pretty enjoyable, thanks to the wide space for spawns to be available, and after just 5 sessions of exploring these depths, the final shiny Titan appeared. Shiny Iron Shreds has rolled its way onto the scene, and even though it's probably the most underwhelming shiny sprite of the bunch, I still like the chrome accents on the future Paradox forms. I went with a timer ball for the capture, which I think matched the colors alright, but also fits with the time orientation theme of the Paradox mons. This jolly natured Iron Shreds ends the hunting we needed to do for this quest, meaning that all of the Titan Pokemon have been found. So let's end this in our usual fashion and review the total stats for the quest. There were 8 total shiny buys throughout the Shiny Titan quest, which required us to chef up 35 sandwiches, plus another 6 for the 3 hours in the Dondozo outbreak, making for a rough total of 41 sandwiches. Our longest hunt was for Klawf, which took 2 phases and 12 total sandwiches, and the quickest of the Titans to shine was the curly form Tatsugiri after only 2 sandwiches. I sure had my work cut out for me for this quest, but I'm really glad to have all of these great additions to the National Pokedex in my collection. We even got 2 Paradox shinies checked off the list with shiny Great Tusk and shiny Iron Shreds. But if you don't know, that's only 2 out of the 14 shinies available, meaning an eventual shiny Paradox video will be double the length of this one. So if you want to see that, leave some love on the video and comment your favorite of the shiny Titan forms. Until then though, I can say that our goal of this video is definitely complete, and I now have obtained every shiny Titan Pokemon at the base shiny odds in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Thanks so much for watching.